thanks to all the energy in the room, all the people in the room. A lot of wisdom shared here tonight. So what happened? I just start?
Just drop your jewels and then we just ask a couple questions. That's it.
Yeah,
Little
well,
10 minutes
listen,
jewels.
I say this, I would say if there's anything important is understanding, being able to read appropriately the signs of the time. Having perception, perspective equals your perfection. I have that in the song. Meaning that
Repeat that.
perception, perspective equals your perception.
Perception, the jazzy juices, I'm sorry. Perception.
So basically, here's the thing, some scientific thing, and science ain't never gonna fail you, and math ain't never gonna fail you. Two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. There will be no one ever who will ever see your point because of that. They will never truly understand you. There's not enough words to share with a person to truly understand you, because science dictates that you can't have the same person sitting in the same place. So you obviously gonna see the same thing different than me, because you're at a different you're a different distance from me. So wasting your time thinking that people gonna understand you, that's one of the biggest wastes that we have in life. Because it's really a bigger hole that you're trying to fill that somebody gave to you. Either you brought it to this world, or just the people that you had the fortune of growing up with made life so hard that, see, that's the thing, when people live a hard life, sometimes it's so easy, because the narrative is for you to weep and be sad about growing up in poverty. The beauty is, if you come out of that, you could not have been given any more noble challenge than to say, I'm going to change my environment, I'm going to change my perspective, I'm going to change the things around me. It's just all of us in our individual fight being tricked. If you got more than two shoes, you're being tricked. If you got more than what you need on you right now, you're being tricked. And it doesn't matter how far into the trickery you're in. Or at some point you figure out, I go into music now, and so I'm part of a group called Brownfish. Some of my guys were here earlier. Was hailing up Judah. Judah is someone who allowed me to become the songwriter I am, right? And that's because of the amount of hours I was allowed to be around him. And Minister gave me my first stage that I ever performed on. I didn't even have a guitar.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow.
So it's like all of us doing our part to keep the movement going. And then there might be some, people might know Jahiti but don't know your name, but that don't mean nothing in what we're really talking about. We're talking about energy. Anybody who you see, you know that there's so many people that poured into that person. So really don't waste your time, really trying to get someone to understand your point, especially if they're not coming to you in brotherly and sisterly love. If they are, then you can enjoy a conversation with each other, right? And I don't even know why I want to start off with that, but just say that's important, you know what I mean? And so in terms of music, I've never really tried to become famous through music, and I know I can. I know all of the fuckery. I know all of it. You know what I mean? And it's changed where I gotta learn new stuff, you know what I mean? I gotta get in shape so I can take my shirt off on IG.
Yeah, okay, thirst trap.
So I get some extra likes and be like, tricked you. I really want to bring you culture, but so you make a decision on how far you want to go into that. Are you an artist, or are you trying to make money off the business of music, and then you're going to now finance schools? But just know, if your ultimate goal is, let me go get the mills, people are going to think you're a sucker. The very people you're trying to help is going to think you're a coon and a sucker, because you're going to have to do stuff like take your shirt off on IG. But they don't got to know what you're doing with the money, giving it back to the community, giving it back to the people. So you make a decision. You can't be caring about what everybody's going to think if you're going to make that decision. If you're a true artist, like I tell people, Bob was never on nobody's protest line.
Brother, you sexy without your shirt on.
I appreciate that. But you know what I'm saying? When you get to them levels of making money, it's people who really don't care about your art. They're trying to eat you. You know what I mean? That's this decision you're making when you go on them type of mega levels. They don't care about your music or whatever art thing you. They just want to eat you. They want to consume you.
You don't need to care about that.
You know what I mean? So, but you make a decision. So like, there's no amount of talking Jay-Z can do, no matter how many people he's helped, whatever's bail people out, build school. When he chose to go that route to make the money to give it back, he chose to be a sucker in a whole bunch of people's eyes. So he just can't be caring. Sometimes I hear certain things about artists, what you're choosing to do. And then there's artists that you ain't never gonna hear their music ever. The brilliant, beautiful art that's sitting inside a room. But there was some kid who went in there and heard the songs, and that inspired that kid, and that we know who that person is. You know what I mean? You know, so yeah, so in terms of being an artist, I've never really tried, you know what I mean? Because me and Ooh and we taught kids. So it was always we were gonna have to leave the kids to go jump and try doing music, and music ain't no guarantee. But what was guaranteed was these babies we were teaching that from time to time would live with us because of their housing situation. So you make a decision, and people like, yo, y'all for it, y'all good, yo, y'all got it, why y'all not in New York somewhere, yo? Like, yo, that is a pipe dream. But we got little kids right now in our classroom struggling. And so we just chose to be like, yo, look, we're gonna still do music, but we can't leave the babies real. And, you know, now that, for those who don't know, who passed away June 1st, 2014, so we speak of him as an ancestor now.
Wow, it's been 8 years? God.
Yeah. And I can tell you through this experience that there's no such thing as death, yo. It's just no, trust me. And so with part of that is knowing, don't waste yourself trying to consume this world, yo. You know what I mean? Because there's another thing beyond this. Don't convince yourself that there's some finish line for you here. There's no finish line for you here, so you can't grind. I'm on my grind. You going too fast, and you got a whole next thing out there. Because if I told you stories about Brother Ooh, there'd be so many that at some point you would have to say that I'm a liar, or there just can't be that many coincidences laid out like that. And beautiful for me, a lot of that stuff other people bear witness to. You know, where I talk about when we had the tribute, when Chenier did the tribute, called and said we're gonna do a tribute at Now Child for Ooh. And we're sitting in the back, and we all got candles in our hand. And I forget who was the last person to talk, and so someone said something to me, and as I'm about to say, well, we might as well blow out the candles, yo, it just started raining, and we took out the candles on its own.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just some powerful things like that, multiple times, over and over again, that I tell you, you know, so if you're an artist, it's really dialing in and what do you want to do with the art? And who do you want to be? Really, what character you want to play? What character are you comfortable playing? And so right now, for myself, you know, I left Baltimore. Sometimes I wonder about that whole transition. I have a terrible memory. Right? I can't remember good stuff, and I can't remember trauma. So I take that as a win-win. Right? But I do have a terrible memory. But I imagine some of what felt good about leaving Baltimore was probably some of maybe just escaping, just you know, it's a lot when who's your best friend and he passes away. You know what I mean? It's a lot. Is there anybody here who don't know who? If you don't know who is, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, yeah. Who was the dude, yo? You know what I mean? And more importantly, like he was flawed, and what made him cool is that he would show you his flaw. Like he'll say something like, you know, he's an educator, got a master's. Somebody come in here, he'd be like, any baby, he would, you know, the baby's stuff, he'd be like, yo, Johnny, man, fuck that bitch, yo. You why you say hey, yo? Yeah, she ran, she phony, yo. Look at her shoes, yo. I tell you, that's why she phony. He was, yo, so it was jump time all the time, highly intelligent, but call him 3 o'clock in the morning and say you out on the street. I bet you he's showing up. The thing that Ooh used to always remember at least one positive thing about a person. Like if you gave him your project and he was like, yo, Ooh, listen to it could be trash doo-doo. He's gonna find one good thing on that project. So when he sees you, he can speak life into you. And like, yo, the way that song number 3 went out and went into 2, woo! Whatever it was, he would, and it would be honest. He wouldn't have to lie to you. But
I have a question on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, as I stated, like this and a lot of things I do is dedicated to Ooh. What is the best way that we can honor Ooh in our moves, keep his energy and spirit alive and honored?
Well, just remember it's easy to save a child and to repair a broken man. So it's always the babies first. Always the baby first. And then it's the queens after that. And then there's a couple tight dudes. We don't be keeping a whole bunch of dudes around. There's a couple tight dudes, you know what I mean? But that is the formula, you know what I mean? And what Ooh did well was, you know, some people are visionaries and some people are operational people. Like Chinya, you're operational. You may be also a visionary, but you're definitely an operational person. So Ooh was very smart. He had a great memory, and he was an operational guy.
How do you define operational? What do you mean by
Meaning,
that?
like, you like, yo, listen, we gotta sell 1,000 of these. Okay,
Organize shit.
figuring out who we need to call, who to source it. Like, yo, we spend $100 now. Yo, we can get this amount, but if we put 1,000 together, so he sold drugs, but not in a way where it was like you selling a product that anybody want anyway. So he was smart enough to know never miss school. Because if you start missing school, that's a red flag. If you get straight A's, that'll throw him off. And so he got straight A's and he never missed class. And so he would be the last person you'd be trying to pick out to be someone who's selling narcotics. So that's what I'm talking about, where he was just smart. He was just smart, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, and we all got to work to a different level, you know what I mean? Because you can't just say, I'm going to be smart, you know what I mean? Some people got, whatever your talent is, whatever your gaps are, you attack those things. So that's what operational was. So bootleg 1, bootleg 2, bootleg 3, DVD, Fishbowl, B-Fly's first album, all of those albums happened because of Ooh. Was my second album where I went with Kier to see what another operation would look like. And Manifest I did on my own. So, but I'd watch Ooh do it like 6 times already. You know what I mean? So you got to have somebody who's, now the era that we had is that the guy who can spit and was a star in the group was also the business mind. You can't do that. You got to have somebody who's the business mind who don't want to be on the white stage. If you're talking about you want to go to the next levels, you got to have a team. So, you know, so yeah. Listen, when it comes to the art, man, you just got to figure out what it is that you want to do, why you're doing it, what you want to get out of it, and be comfortable. You know what I mean? When people are like, yo, you could be such a big star. You know, why are you wasting your time? You know you could be further, right? Yo, you probably one of the best that I know. Why are you teaching in what? It don't make any sense. You gotta be comfortable with people feel like you stupid because you're not living up to what they clearly can see is your talent. Because you don't want to be the babies. So you know you can't do all things at all points, right? So you pick one of those things. So the only thing I say, you know, really with the thing is, just master self. You know, it's all an illusion. You know, this is not the end. There's many levels after that, and God is going to keep making you. God, the universe, your ancestors is going to keep making you do the same test until you figure it out. And you're just going to be stuck in a loop of the same test over and over again. If you don't journal, I was never really into journals, but I have a couple. And y'all went back and read it, stuff I was like in 2021. I know I've had those epiphanies since thinking they were original thoughts, and I had already written them down at 21. So I mean, by the time I read it again at 38, I had wasted that much time on some dope shit I already knew, but didn't have the system in place to execute because I wasn't an operational guy. Whatever your dreams are, they ain't gonna go nowhere without an operational person. So God blessed me that on the 7th anniversary of Oo's passing, I became director of Parks and Recreation in the city of Wilmington, right?
Hey.
So I make more money than I've ever made in my life. I have more resources. The mayor is my boss, right? So I've never been this close to the power seat, right? And let me tell you something, yo. Our biggest problem as a community, ain't nobody, let me be clear. The level in which we want to make the shitstem and their influence over us is way beyond what we're saying, because we ultimately don't want to do no work. So we say, yo, that thing is so big, they got the boot on it so heavy. You know how it is, I'm trying to make it, yo, they got it on, and you can line it up, makes sense, redlining, drugs, it makes sense. It's overblown, yo. We just not working, and that's a beautiful excuse. You can really, and there's so many examples. I'm first generation American. There's no way that somebody from Africa come to this country as an African, and y'all know how we treat immigrants, and outpace your family in one generation. Because they not playing. They not playing. Brother Chango got a guy in the group, we were talking, and we was talking about the poverty that we all see in this country. Brother Chango had to break him down to him. He was like, yo, have you been outside this country? Do you know your poverty is wealth for most of the people on this planet? Perception, perspective equals your perfection. You live in like, yo, it's jacked up, we got roaches and rats around here, man, Yo, in America, anywhere you could go get food. You got places on this planet, most of the planet, there is no dumpster with half-eaten food in it. But if your perspective is, I want to be rich like them boy, then yeah, it's jacked up we live around here.